Where have I heard that tune? That sounds familiar.
What's the name of that
Sure,
song?
I know that
Where
from
have I heard
somewhere.
that
I know that
before?
I've heard that before.
Is that something that you've said to yourself and you've wondered, what is it about music that makes it so recognizable? If you've ever had a birthday, which I'm sure you've probably had a birthday because everyone's been born, that's why we're here, then you would recognize... So what is it about that makes it recognizable? Well, number one, it's melody. So the melody of a piece is much like a pattern. It's got speed, it's got rhythm, it's got pitches, how high or low the sound is. It's much like if you're recognizing a word, it's got different characters. Like if you're reading a book, you see the words on the page, you recognize the characters and their formations. The order and sequence of some notes can indicate the pattern of the music. But how much of the melody makes it recognizable? Is it just this? Or is it just this? So it's obviously not the whole thing that you need. Even if you see half of a word, you might be able to recognize what the whole word might be. You may only hear a part of a melody, and you know the whole piece because you've heard it before, and you know that sequence of or pattern of music. So how much of this pattern do you actually need to hear in order to recognize a piece of music? For example, if you hear this, what comes next? Obviously, most of you would have heard this piece of music and you'll know it's this. But what happens if I play it on a different instrument? Like the flute. Do you still know that the next note should be? I'm sure that if the first one you heard was the flute version, some of you may not have recognized what the piece was. And that brings me to number 2, which is instrumentation. So the instrumentation being the timbre or the sound or combination of sounds that you might hear in a recording or a performance. So the instrumentation that you hear can make a difference as to whether you recognize the piece of music. Another example could be if I play this. That's a very famous piece of music, but if I'm playing it up there on the piano, you may not know what it is. But if you hear this, a lot more of you will recognize what that piece is from that introduction. In case you're wondering, that was the famous piano concerto by Tchaikovsky, which has the well-known piano opening. So the instrumentation or the sound combinations in a piece of music can reduce the number of notes you need to hear in a melody in order to know what it is. But by how much? Here is a very popular example for you. If I were to play you this, what do you think it might be without giving you any hints? And in fact, in the comments below, let me know if you already recognize the piece. I'd be curious to know how many of you know that without any hints. For those of you who didn't know what that snippet was, let me give you a little hint. If I were to show you this picture and then play the snippet, now the number of you who recognize the music has just increased. So that brings me to number 3, which is association. The link between the different senses, connections, references. It could be that you hear the theme to your favorite TV series and you can picture the actors or actresses who are in the show. But association can also work both ways. You might see the logo of your favorite football team and you remember what their theme song sounds like. You might smell some food and remember the music jingle that's used in that food's advertising. This association can actually help you remember and recognize music without even hearing it out loud. Going even further than association is number 4, and that's nostalgia. Music can bring back memories, but also memories can help remind you of music that you've heard. Think about this. Have you ever heard a piece of music and it reminded you of something long ago, like maybe your childhood or a family home or your grandmother's house? Because of those feelings of nostalgia, you might remember what that piece of music is just from your memories. Nostalgia also works both ways. You might remember something in the past and you can hear music. Or you might hear a piece of music and remember the past. So these are the 4 main ways that I believe we recognize music. Number 1, melody or pattern. Number 2, instrumentation, the sound combinations. Number 3, association, the connections that we have between our senses. And number 4, nostalgia, music and memories. So next time you listen to a piece of music, a song, a theme, have a think about what makes it recognizable to you. Thanks for watching and I will see you in the next video.